to you, Word of God, Lord Jesus Christ. Glory to you, Word of God, Lord Jesus Christ. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits for his word. Glory to you, Word of God, Lord Jesus Christ.
My friends, the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As Jesus passed by, he saw a blind man from birth. And his disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Neither he nor his parents sinned. It is so that the works of God might be made visible through him. We have to do the works of the one who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said this, he spat on the ground. He made some clay with his saliva and smeared the clay on the eyes and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" And some said, "It is." But others said, "No, he just looks like him." He said, "I am." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" And he replied, "A man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went there and washed and was able to see. And they said to him, 'Where is he?' He said, 'I don't know.' They brought the one who was blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on the Sabbath, so the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. And he said to them, 'He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I can see.' So some of the Pharisees said, 'This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath.' But others said, 'How can a sinful man do such things?' And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man again, 'What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?' And he said, 'He is a prophet.' Now the Jews did not believe that he had been blind and gained his sight, so they summoned his parents of the one who had gained his sight, and they asked them, 'Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How does he now see?' His parents answered him, 'We know this is our son, and that he was born blind. We do not know how he sees now, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him, he is of age. He can speak for himself.' His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledged him as the Christ, he would be expelled from the synagogue. And for this reason his parents said, 'He is of age, question him.' So a second time they called the man who was blind. They said to him, 'Give God the praise. We know that this man is a sinner.' He replied, 'If he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I know is that I was blind and now I see.' So they said to him, 'What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?' And he answered, 'I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?' They ridiculed him and said, 'You are the man's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but we do not know where this one is from.' The man answered and said to him, 'This is what is so amazing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if one is devout and does his will, he listens to him. It is unheard of anyone even opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything.' They answered and said to him, 'You were born totally in sin, and you are trying to teach us." And then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And he answered and said to him, "Who is he, sir, that I might believe in him?" And Jesus said to him, "You have seen him. The one who is speaking with you is he." And he said, "I do believe, Lord." And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see might see, and those who do see might become blind." Some of the Pharisees were with him, heard this, and said to him, "Surely we are not also blind, are we?" And Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you are saying, 'We see,' so your sin remains." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Good morning. The Gospels last week, this week, and next week are like a half marathon training for what's happening in 2 weeks, and that is the Passion, so you're welcome. It is the fourth Sunday of Lent. It is the second Sunday of the church year that you will ever see rose vestments worn by the priest and deacon and rose on the altar, because after all, it is really rose that means celebration and joy, that we are halfway completed with our Lenten penance, that the true celebration of Easter is only now a short time away. And a good reason to remind ourselves of why we wear rose is because Jesus rose from the dead. He did not pink from the dead. Awful. Okay, you can leave now. Awful. Two things that we are taught about Christ in this morning's gospel. The first, Jesus did not ask the blind young man if he wanted to be healed, nor did the blind young man ask Jesus to be healed. Jesus just did it. This is a rare circumstance in the gospel, that oftentimes we either hear one circumstance or the other happening, that either the person will ask or Jesus will ask. But the second characteristic that we are taught by Christ in this morning's gospel is that he disappears to teach a greater lesson. He was present at the beginning of the passage, and then he was present at the end, because it was truly the parents and the Son who taught us the true lesson of what Jesus was doing. So let's first go to the parents. Now, as a school teacher by assignment, I have all the respect in the world for good parents, those who train their children not only in the ways of life, but also in the ways of faith, much like yourselves. But you know as well as I do that there are often trials that come with children. And as much of a blessing as they are in our life, that sometimes we have to offer tough love, that sometimes you have to discipline your child. Sometimes we as teachers have to discipline your children for you. You're welcome. But more importantly, we know that even in the tough times, that it's all out of love. We know that sometimes they might not talk to us, sometimes they might be bad at us, but sooner or later they get the picture that it's only out of love that we have to be stern with them from time to time. But these parents in this morning's gospel, who are unnamed other than the blind men's parents, are not the models for us, because they did not want to give what a parent is called to give, and that is tough love, the truth. They offered indecision. They offered the gray area. And it was truly the Son who had to be the parent to teach them the lesson that was in front of them. So we now move on to the Son. And what exactly does the Son teach? The Son teaches all of us that we are called to the truth that helps our belief, and the belief that helps us to give testimony to the truth. Truth, belief, and testimony. These are the three themes of John's whole gospel. And you will see these three words pop up over and over again from the beginning of John's gospel to the resurrection narrative. Because John was trying to get across the point, as this son that was born blind was trying to do as well, is that truth will only come through belief, and that once we find truth and believe in it, that we are called to give testimony by how we live our life over and over. And the ultimate truth that was given in this morning's gospel was that Jesus is the light. Jesus is the one who will dispel the darkness. Jesus is the light that freely shines and that freely gives. That's how God's grace works. Sometimes Jesus' light gives us an illumination that maybe we weren't expecting or maybe we did not want to see. Other times it is a welcome moment that we see in the dark points of our life. Regardless, Jesus is the light, and he freely gives so that we can freely receive. So on this fourth Sunday of Lent, where do we need his light? Where do we need to let his light shine in our hearts to confront maybe some hard truths that we're struggling with? Where do we need to let his light be a welcome to grace into our day? And where have we seen his light and maybe tried to dim it? There's many times in our life that we are both the parents in this gospel, but also the child. And what Jesus reminds us is, regardless if we are the parent or the child, is that his light of love freely shines, freely gives, so that we can freely receive, to have his truth, to have his freedom, so that we, by how we live our life, can give testimony. Pope Francis, in his first encyclical, said this: "The joy of the gospel fills the hearts and lives of all who encounter Jesus. Those who accept his offer of salvation are set free from sin, sorrow, inner emptiness, and loneliness. With Christ, joy is constantly ever made new." My friends, this is what our Lenten journey is about. Not just to get to Easter, which is now 3 short weeks away, so stock up on your Romelo's chocolate now. But it is about experiencing over and over that light of joy that will dispel the darkness of hurt, of doubt, of sin, of sadness. It's about encountering anew each and every day the power of his light of love. This is why we have such an emphasis during Lent and Advent on one particular sacrament, the sacrament of reconciliation, because that is a real tangible way that we freely receive what Christ has freely given: a new start, a clean slate, renewed grace, so that we can try to do better on this side of heaven. 4 weeks of Lent are down, 3 weeks to go. Let his light shine. Receive the free gift of his grace through the sacrament of reconciliation, and look at every day as a new opportunity to live out that joy of the gospel.